Hello there, I'm Simon Rafe and welcome to Brown Bag Bible Study, the Bible study that you can do in your lunch break. Now this, well, it's an introduction to Scripture. It's just going to give you some information that you might not have known. It's going to encourage you to read the Bible. But it's presented in little, bite-sized pieces, which are perfect to fit in with today's busy lifestyles. Now every week I will concentrate on a small part of Scripture, either one of the 73 books of the Bible or a group of related books. And I'll bring you some interesting facts and information to help you understand it. I'll also be including links to further reading, articles, books, and so forth. These are going to help you learn to love sacred Scripture even more. This week, the Lamentations of Jeremiah. Now, as the name suggests, these are sad songs or poems grieving over horrible things, and they are traditionally ascribed to the pen of Jeremiah. Because of this, in some Bibles, the 5 laments are part of the book of Jeremiah, meaning that these Bibles, well, they've only got 72 books. Such Bibles were common in the earlier part of the 20th century, and this led to a simple method by which one could know the number of books in the Bible and the Old and New Testaments. All one needed to do was remember either 72 or 27, and then do a little bit of math. There were 72 books in the whole Bible, and those 2 digits reversed were 27, and that is the number of books in the New Testament. Jeremiah's authorship has been challenged by modern scholars, saying that they are unlike the rest of his work. But really, this is a very unfair criticism. They're a different form of writing, poetry rather than prophetic prose, and the influence of Baruch as a scribe and editor on the destroyed prophecies of Jeremiah means a variation, well, that would be natural. Certainly, almost all scholars are in agreement that the laments were written shortly after and in response to the sack of Jerusalem and the deportation in 587 BC, and that they were likely written by an eyewitness to these events. Jeremiah was there for that. He saw it happen and was left behind in the ruins after being freed by the invading Nebuchadnezzar. So really, he's an ideal candidate for author, especially when tradition, even to this day, notes a small cave where he retired in grief to write the laments. 4 of the poems are acrostics, that is, a poem whose initial letters of each line or stanza form a word, phrase, or logical progression. In this case, they follow the order of the Hebrew alphabet. Now, this is a fairly common structure for Jewish poetry, prayer, and songs. Psalms 24, 33, 36, and 118, while they all use the acrostic format. The songs clearly belong to the genre of city lament, a genre common in ancient Mesopotamia, but all but unknown today. The idea of a poem or song expressing grief and sadness, well, that perhaps seems strange to us, but it was an important part of many ancient cultures, and it's also found in opera today. As Christians, we should not shy away from grief and sadness. It is not only healthy to grieve, but it is the natural result of suffering or loss. Christ does not promise that we will never know grief, rather that our grief will turn to joy and that ultimately there will be no more tears. The Church uses the laments liturgically during Holy Week, a time of grief and sadness which soon gives way to joy. And when we read Lamentations, we should do so in the same mind. It's very easy to read into Lamentations an expression of grief for almost any suffering, and we should focus on the exhortations to plead with God for mercy and forgiveness. Ultimately, suffering in the world is a result of sin, either our own personal sins or the original sin of Adam and Eve. The cure for the sin, and thus the cure for suffering, is Christ. To lament our sufferings, but not to blame them on God, but rather see the truth of the matter and humbly ask for mercy, forgiveness, and help, that is the appropriate Christian response, and it should be our guide when reading Lamentations. That's all for this time. Do read the laments, they're not long, and prayerfully reflect on them. If you have time, the additional reading will help you understand them more. Next week, we're going to look at the work of Jeremiah's secretary and scribe, the book of the prophet Baruch. Until then, I'm Simon Rafe, and God bless. To learn more about the place of Scripture in the lives of Catholic Christians, I urge you to read Pope Benedict's apostolic exhortation Verbum Domini. The Pope encourages all Catholics to read, learn, and love Scripture and to understand its relation to the Church. A link to this exhortation is included in the reading materials for every episode of Brown Bag Bible Study. Just click the link over there.